Hello, welcome back to another EU4 1356 guide. My name is Asanpi. Today we're going to be taking a look at a very fun one-province minor known as Aq Qoyunlu. In 1356, they, along with their brothers, had just moved into the area that they now settle. They start as a tribe. It's a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy. Aq Qoyunlu plays very similar to Aq Qoyunlu, except I think they are actually a bit more easy, and their ideas are ever so slightly better. I like overall Aq Qoyunlu's idea is better. They start with 10% morale on their traditions, along with the plus 20% that both nations do for the cavalry combat ability. Leader shock is really good. Cavalry cost is pretty good. Minus 20% core creation cost is insanely good, along with some other good stuff. The manpower modifier is pretty good too. We'll start with our 1356 policies as per usual. You can hide the debugging menus. This is a nation where you don't want to go religious conversion, because we start in an area that looks like this. There's a lot to convert here, and it's far too cumbersome to convert all of this stuff at once. So instead, what I like to do is I like to focus on military and diplomacy. Now, you can either go the plus 20% fort defense, which is pretty good, especially since we start in mountains. Otherwise, leaders without upkeep and minus 15% general cost goes great with a certain nobility policy we can take. Because of your focus on cavalry as a nation, this is also not a bad idea to start with. We'll take this one, along with general upkeep. Growing the vassal structure might seem tempting to wait on, but I think for some reason in this version of the mod it's broken. So we can't actually ever take this. I used to be able to, but I'm not sure. Any of these really are good. We aren't a big enough nation to even collect in any other trade nodes, so honestly, focusing on domestic trade is pretty good. We can't reach Persia. We will eventually, and by that time, the -1 merchant will have worn off. You can get rid of these policies early, but they do stick around for as long as you keep them up until a certain age. After the age of feudalism, though, you can't take them. And all estates loyalty equilibrium. Next, with your national decisions, take everything except for enforce religious unity. For estates, we don't want to take any religious conversion stuff. We will, however, establish religious schools and grant a scholar. It will be Hanbali. Religious diplomats is insanely powerful for Sunni nations. Plus 25 to relations will come in handy for what we're about to do as well. Clerical ministers gives you 0.1 FIDE. Now for the emirs, we will take control of the military to complement our minus 15% cost. So now we only have 5% more cost for military generals, which is nothing at all. Aristocrat counselors is pretty good, and it increases their loyalty to us by 5. For merchants, control of monetary policy. Now for the 𝕸𝖚𝖚, you can actually summon the diet first, and then seize your land, because the 𝕸𝖚𝖚 will usually want you to give them policies. Unfortunately, in this case, they don't, but we do have a good one from the emirs, so we'll take that one. Regardless, we want to conscript the 𝕸𝖚𝖚, grant religious rights for plus 2 tolerance of heathens, and guarantee 𝕸𝖚𝖚 autonomy. This removes the penalty completely from conquering Christian lands, very similarly to how Indian sultanates play. You can also take higher 𝕸𝖚𝖚 taxes, which will be very good since all of our land is going to be 𝕸𝖚𝖚. Now that does bring our land down to 20%, which is not great, but the tax policy offsets the minus 10% tax. Don't forget to invite your scholar. For your rebels, rebel whoever you can. Usually it's going to be Trebizond, Aq Qoyunlu, and either Samski or Bitlis. I'm going to go with Bitlis first, because we will conquer them first. This is one of the few nations where we won't delete our cavalry, because we get such high bonuses for them. We will keep them, go up to force limit. Pray that you have a good general. In this case, we have a pretty good king. In terms of relations, immediately ally the Ottomans if you can. That seems like a long shot, but we are actually the same religious school, so we get a plus 10%. You can royal marry them right away. You have your spot reserved for an alliance. Fabricate on Bitlis and Aq Qoyunlu right away. This is just my personal preference, but I'm going to claim everything around me, just to send a message to the AI. Shirvan is also a pretty good ally to have. They will actually ally you right from the start, and they're nearby enough to be able to help you, but not close to you where you want to conquer them right away. Astrakhan is also not a bad choice. I wouldn't ally people like Luristan or anyone really around the Jalayirids besides Mamluks, because the Jalayirids do attack them and you will lose. The Jalayirids are a very, very powerful nation in 1356, stronger than the Ottomans. I ended up allying Astrakhan because Shirvan is allied with Astrakhan, so I figured we'd form a triple alliance. Now, depending on who these two have rivaled, you can attack either one of them first. Bitlis, at this point, starts with 1 more unit than you do, but you have money saved up, and they only have 1 ally, the 𝕁𝖈𝖎𝖏𝖃, who can't actually get to us. So, declare war on them right away. We'll send our people in, take our land force limit mission, which gives us a bit more morale. We're going to stand on Moosh, go 2 over force limit. We'll wait for our people to arrive. This will also depend on if you have a good general versus them. And now that we have 7 people here, tackle them on bitless, and stack wipe them on Vam. Fully siege them, and now this is suddenly an even war, 2v1. You can go back down to 1 over. Normally, I would say, while you're in this war, fabricate on 𝕁𝖘𝖎. 𝕁𝖘𝖎 is part of your mission to destroy the 𝕁𝖈ds. However, unfortunately, this game they are allied with the Mamluks, and we cannot quite do what we just did against the Mamluks. And we can't deal with the Red either because they always ally the Jalayirids. That's partially the reason why the Ottomans can never attack the Iranians and never build up as far as they can. Alright, we have sieged bitless. Now it's just a matter of waiting for them to unconditionally surrender. Alright. Bitless will finally peace out. Always take ducats. It's always a waste if you don't. This will probably be a game where you're going to want to focus on admin, depending on who your heir is. Now we're going to employ the same strategy we did against bitless to our brothers in Kora. Go 2 above your force limit. In this case, it's 1 now because we conquered so much land. And start fabricating on Armenia. I've been fabricating on Samski as well, so be sure to claim that. We're going to wipe our brothers off the map before they can do anything. Usually, because you have so much more force limit than them, they will run away. If they run into your province, that's more ideal. Especially if it's in a flat province like Ban, instead of the mountains like Bayezid. Now you'll notice that you can do tribal tributes. We are not a horde like in the base game. We're a tribe. So, this early on, the 40 tradition general is very good. In fact, he's very good. He gives us 2 siege, which will make things a lot easier for what we're doing. So we will simply take what we can. Trepidon is going to be tricky to attack, because even though that the White Horde will not join them during the war with Kiev, they're almost always allied or guaranteed by Georgia. And Georgia is quite strong, at least compared to you. If you're concerned about the Judge, Musafard is also not a terrible idea to ally. We're going to go 1 over force limit, but we're going to take a cavalry, because we can afford it. We're making 102 gold right now. This is also around the time where you will get to military tech 3, which gives you 0.3 morale. Keep in mind that as a Muslim, you actually start barely further ahead with better pips than Eastern or Western nations. And that's the start of our war with Circassia and Samtskhe. This is again a situation where they have an ally that's far away and we can attack because we're a human player who can make decisions. If I was a tribal malikate, I would recommend taking either lineage succession or rule by might. Rule by might, pretty fun. You don't have heirs or consorts, one of your generals becomes ruler. The only reason I prefer rule by might is because lineage succession gives okay bonuses if you're not going cavalry focused like I am. Okay, finally peace out Samtskhe. I don't care about the money because it's been like 5 years sitting in this war doing nothing. But that is your 3rd war done. Once you get these cores, your force limit will increase again, and we are at very low unrest. So I would recommend decreasing autonomy now that we have a sizable army to deal with rebels. If you're feeling antsy like I am to do something, you can win this war if you call in Shirvan. The important thing is that you immediately attack Trebizond and then support your ally. You are always going to want to take these provinces right here. While our aggressive expansion is not high, our overextension is. So this is one of those times where I would actually recommend releasing Imerti to core all the Georgian provinces for you. Mamluks might start liking you. You can ally them, even if the Ottomans are also rival with them. It is not too hard to maintain both these alliances, but at the first sign of trouble, I would recommend ditching one of them. You cannot keep both, and it will really depend on who's strong. Mamluks is the most consistent big ally in this section, besides the Jalayirids. For your tier 3 government reform, Martial Society is a no-brainer. National Manpower modifier plus 20% removes the need for us to take quantity ideas. We're going to be focusing on Eretna first, especially since Chupinids are busy defending their own land. I want to bring up something that has actually made me very lucky in my playthrough, likely may not happen in yours. Khorasan and the Chupinids are allied along with Eretna. Chupinids, in 90% of the games, never get any allies. Maybe they get allies with Eretna, but that's about it. In my campaign, there has been no movement in this entire area in the last 20 years or so. Normally, what happens, Jalayirids will take 𝕁𝖈 and then take Chupinids after they take Lorestan. There's this deadlock of alliances that somehow happened. At this point, we will peace out the Eretna and break their alliances with the 2 big allies they have. And we fought the Chupinids enough, so we can really take the rest of the Armenian land and then Khoi. Now, if you're like me and you set this area as vital interest, your vassal in 𝕝𝖵𝖎𝖃 should have claims on 𝕸𝖵𝖚. 𝕸𝖵𝖚 just got out of a really shitty war, so we'll attack them too. To save manpower, I'm going to take off my main regiment here, and let my attached ally do the rest of the sieging. The gains of allying both the Ottomans and the Mamluks is we can eventually get either of them to break their alliance with small nations such as 𝕁𝖘𝖈 or 𝕸𝖔𝖉𝖘. I just glossed over it, but for your event for choosing a siege weapon, I personally like getting the trebuchet on this nation. The two good ones are the trebuchet or the bombard. The bombard is good for siege ability, you take those on people like the Ottomans. Otherwise, the trebuchet gives you just general combat bonuses towards shock and stuff. That's why I'm taking that. And don't worry, eventually you'll get a decision that lets you change that. Choose new siege weapon, and it gives you that event again. This event is specific to 1356. Alright, that is a war with 𝕸𝖵𝖚 done. I'm gonna release 𝕸𝖔𝖚, because 𝕸𝖵𝖚 has a claim on, well, 𝕸𝖵𝖚. And also I'm gonna let them manage the Coptic Romanian provinces here, which also gives us acquire subjects. That will also allow us to take these strong duchies, because we have 2 vassals now. The reason I'm not letting 𝕸𝖵𝖚 take Yerevan is because we do eventually want to move our trade node upstream, and Yerevan is technically within the Persian trade node. The Persian trade node is one of the best trade nodes in the game. It's very rich, and it's very easy to consolidate. That's why I always say Persia is better. Now, even though Georgia is allied with Muscovy, they can't defend them. So we're coming back down, and we're gonna piece out the Georgians. That is Georgia wiped off the map. For your tier 4 government reform, I recommend taking lip service. Less land maintenance is worth the other 2 bonuses here. We don't need stability cost modifier, so lip service. I am going to move our capital to Yerevan. It will be much better economically and strategically for us because it's the same terrain, except it already has a fort built here, and it's in a better trade node. And as you can see, our income went from 0.94 to 224. That's how insane this trade node is, guys. We can have luxuries now, like advisors. This war is mainly to get the Yerevan off the map. I'm not going to take too much from Anatolia, because I am concerned that the Ottomans are going to start running my provinces if I take too much. Tabriz core is taken back. You can pretty much annex Tabriz. There's no need for them now. Now the final war is going to be the war with Jalayirids. And we've been currying favors all this time, now that Czechoslovakia is also at 10. Oh, they're still fighting. Oh, I see. They're finishing off Macedonia. That's fine. Well, in the meantime, you can fabricate on whoever's conquering who, which is Rasht in this case. The abilities in Age of Feudalism are super strong. Take whichever one you seem to need the most. If you find your sieging a lot, siege ability is always really great. If you still have those 2 vassals, or if you have more vassals, you can take this one, which gives you really big bonuses to your vassals. Otherwise, a really good safe bet, if you're not sure, is institution replacement cost. You're going to want to embrace that gunpowder as soon as possible. I'm personally going to take this one. We're not having any trouble sieging because we're in combat so much. We're actually getting a lot of army tradition at the rate I'm conquering, and I'm able to get Siege 3 and Siege 2 generals. So, scholarly studies. This is the war you've all been waiting for. If people won't join you, for whatever reason, you can do some convincing in the form of preparing for war. This is especially important because Ottomans will usually attack Edirne or wherever they want, and will call in everybody. This is 63k to 18k. That might seem like overkill, but there is no such thing in EU4. And also, the Jalayirids, if I ever make a guide on them, you'll see why they're so powerful. They get a lot of moral bonuses. So, ideally, if you declare war on the Jalayirids. I couldn't because I'm extremely stupid and didn't actually fabricate any claims on them. Luckily, we were able to co-belligerent them, so it's going to be the same. The only difference is that the primary is Edirne. How this war is basically going to go is you're going to, with the help of the Ottomans, fully siege out Edirne, piece them out, and then focus on whoever is next, which is, in this case, the Jalayirids. I have to siege out Jalayirids first, and then take on Edirne, but I'm still going to fully occupy Edirne, so they can't really fight anymore. I also have Sivas marked as a province of vital interest. Again, be careful about taking too much in this war, because the Ottomans do want the rest of this. If you are confident that you can befriend someone else other than the Ottomans and have another strong ally, or if you just want to go fully allied to Mamluks, that's fine. You can just take however much you want. That's the unconditional surrender from the Retinids. First, we're going to deal with the Jalayirids here. You shouldn't have too much trouble with aggressive expansion. Jalayirid is a Shia nation, not a Sunni nation, so really the only people who are actually going to hit you are some immediate nearby enemies, so we'll just do this. And with Retinids, again, normally you would piece them out first, but it doesn't super matter because we instantly occupied all of them. And I am going to push further into Faro's Bolshak. We can't physically take any of the stuff because the Ottomans took it. Make them break the alliance, order our patience, and the usual stuff as well. And that's how we're done. We've grown quite a bit. This is so much land and it's so high cost. I would honestly recommend releasing a nation. For some reason I can't find Iraq in the list. Doesn't matter, you can release Sauron. And then give them all the provinces that you just conquered. The rest we will core for ourselves. And we can upgrade our government rank because we have expanded so much. So, and as expected, the Ottomans are going to break their alliance with us because they hate that we own 0.1% of Turkey, but that's fine. Keep an eye on who they're rivals with. As soon as we have an ally of 𝕗𝖘𝖈𝖎𝖃 at 50 favors, make them break the alliance. And do this immediately before they ally someone like the Ottomans. Alright, we're going to conquer 𝕸𝖔𝖈, along with 𝕗𝖘𝖈𝖃, which gives us free claims on most of the Jalayirids. Now that we've dealt with the Jalayirids, we are going to widen ourselves out into a red next. And again, the Ottomans are your main threat by this point. They aren't too big, and with help of someone like Hungary or Poland, we can definitely beat them. Really, the hard part is wrestling with your ally 𝕤𝑠oxania and making sure that you conquer as much territory as you can before the 𝕤𝑔𝖈𝖚 spawns. Because most of the time he does. There are a few rare games where he doesn't. And you get this wonderful event where it gives you free base tax and base production 𝕗𝖘𝖈𝖃 once you conquer it. Next we will conquer what's left of Rasht. Seems like Mustafard is expanding pretty rapidly into this area. We're going to eventually want to betray them. They are allied with 𝕤𝑠oxania. If that's the case, raise some favors. You will have to wait because we just did it with Mamluks. And this is a good war to declare on Rasht as well because they're allied with 𝕁𝒁𝒻𝒃, who is normally controlled by the White Horde. 𝕁𝒁𝒻𝒃 first. Don't worry about the aggressive expansion. You're declaring war on so many people at once that there's going to be too many truces for anyone to actually form a meaningful coalition against you. And again, you have the Mamluks on your side. As long as they're not in some stupid war, you will not get declared war on. All of 𝕁𝒁𝒻𝒃 taken. All of Rasht taken. I made a mistake. 𝕤𝑠oxania is technically a vassal, or in this case a nomadic clan of 𝕤𝒃. This is a specific mechanic to 1356, I believe. So they count as a vassal without actually having a lot of vassal mechanics. But that means you can't actually get them to break their alliances. Luckily, Mustafard likes us so much because we're so much more powerful than them, that we could tell them to break an alliance with 𝕤𝑠oxania. And 𝕤𝑠oxania doesn't really like that all that much, but it's okay. They still love us regardless of our flaws. And I'm not comfortable breaking alliance with Mustafard yet. The goal is to rally as many people as you can against the Ottomans. Scornfully insult them if you have to. You should be able to attack Uriatanid and Jalayirids on their own with yourself. For some reason, Mamluks guaranteed the Uriatanids because they're afraid the Ottomans are going to conquer the rest of them. But joke's on them, we want them instead. If you're concerned about it, we could instead declare war on the Jalayirids, but that would call on some more people. And this time we do actually want to declare war on Jalayirids. Plus we have Mustafard to tank for us for a while. Declare this war right away before the Ottomans can get to them. For your tier 5 government reform, you can either take fortified structure, which gives you less war exhaustion, which is insanely good, less war tax cost. The latter doesn't really matter too much because war score cost is not super important anyway because military power is very easy to come by. I personally going to do this. The monthly war exhaustion is alone worth it. The other option is fertilize the 𝕗𝖈𝖃 caste. Not into tier 6. Either of these is good. If you feel you're going to be conquering a lot of land, you can go governing capacity, but do note there is other ways to do this. I personally prefer to go centralized power for the less procreation cost. And then finally, when you unlock an actual government, as opposed to a tribe, becoming a horde is probably the most powerful thing you could do. Otherwise, reform into monarchy is a good way to go as well. If you really want to stack the morale onto your armies, Into the World is a good one too because it gives you plus 10% to your morale, and yearly tribal allegiance. This keeps you as a tribe though, and unfortunately, no, this doesn't mean you can become a stateless society. It just uses the same icon. That would be really fun though. With this war done, we're going to take as much of the Jalayirid land as we can. In this case, it's going to be a lot of 𝕤𝖚stan. And this is really to cut off the Sfards from taking it. We're going to be taking as much as we can from the Uriatanids. And again, this is a situation where you'll want to release a vassal, just so you can core this stuff faster. I'm going to choose to release Karaman. Give Karaman everything that you don't really need right now. In this section, I'm going to release 𝕤𝖚stan. Because 𝕤𝖚stan, that's cores. For your second idea, you definitely want to go humanist ideas. The very first reform that gives you is tolerance, which is extremely good. And after that war, you should be all set. Your next war should be again to finish off the Jalayirids. If you take their northern provinces here along with Ardalan, you can defeat the Black Sheep, which gives you claims on all of this eastern territory here. And once you claim the Caucasus, you can then start pushing into Persia super easily. Again, you'll have to betray Muzaffar, but they're super easy to fight, because by this point, their dynasty is kind of falling apart. Your main concern is going to be either the Ottomans getting a bit too powerful, which you can solve with allies, or the Timurids spawning, which you can usually outpace them before the event that makes Timurids spawn. I hope you enjoyed this guide. This is a very fun one province minor that you start in the very humble beginnings of Erzurum, and as you can see, we have become much more than that. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.